Break the board sports. It's your boy RJ Cash. Click that like, hit subscribe. Diving into NFL Christmas. Now we got 3 games. We already put the one out, Chiefs, Broncos. We're going to dive into the first 2 games here on Netflix. Cowboys, Commanders, and Lions, Vikings. And man, if you had looked at the beginning of the year, you figure the whole 3-game slate, man, the NFL did a really good job. You got division rivals. They're all going to be in the playoff hunt. Well, not so much. Chiefs stink. Commanders and Cowboys stink. And the Lions and Vikings, Lions have fell off a cliff. They stink, and the Vikings have it. So what looked like in the preseason to be a great schedule, not so much anymore at Break the Board Sports here on YouTube. Check out all of our content. 6 shows per day, minimum 4 shorts. So let's hop right into it. First game we're going to get into, Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Commanders. Now, this one was set in 6 most of the week. Now we've moved up to 7, and I expected to actually get over the 7 mark. No Jalen Daniels, and then obviously Marcus Mariota, game time, or day-to-day rather, as we all are. I don't know what that comment even means by Dan Quinn, but Dan Quinn's an absolute idiot and a fraud of a coach, but I digress. So Josh Johnson probably going to be the guy to get the start. We saw how electric he looked, not so much the other day. And Jeff Driscoll, who was the 3rd string last year, they bring him in. So who knows what the Commanders are doing. Now, Cowboys, way more talent than Washington, but they're kind of a dead team as well. I bet them this past weekend against the Chargers and regret that. That defense is absolutely atrocious of the Dallas Cowboys. So this one should be really interesting. But early here on, as we said here on a Tuesday, games on Thursday, a lot of love for Dallas. They're getting 76% of ticket count, 91% of the handle to Dallas, 24% of ticket count, 9% of the handle to the Commanders. Now your total sets at 51, 60% of ticket count, 58% of the handle going over, 40% of ticket count, 31% of the handle to the under in this one. Last 10 games as a home dog, Washington 1-9 straight up and just 2-8 against the spread. Last 10 games as a road favorite has Dallas 6-4 straight up, 5-4-1 ATS there in that situation. When you look in, again, we talked about this. Dallas, they were supposed to be good. Washington was supposed to be good. Turns out neither team is good. I think I said, I'm pretty sure you go back. Matter of fact, I know I'm sure. I said both of these teams would miss the playoffs and they'd be a far cry from what everybody thought. I said Jalen Daniels, he would continue to get hurt through his career. Facts. And Dallas undisciplined as long as Jerry Jones is the owner. No shot. Dallas comes into this 6-8-1 straight up, 7-8 ATS, 2-5 on the road. Washington 2-5 at home, 4-11 straight up, 5-10 against the number. Now Dallas has lost 3 straight at Detroit, home against Minnesota, home against the Chargers. None of them were even close except that Viking game where they had the lead and blew it. Washington, they got a win against the Giants, which they tried to even give that one away. But again, they've just been absolutely atrocious. 1-9 over their last 10. Head-to-head, these 2 teams played back October 19th in Dallas. Dallas walked the dog in that one, 44-22 there in that game. Again, now that you got Josh Johnson at quarterback, I'm not saying Dallas is a bargain. Now, I'm not a guy that likes to lay points on the road by no means, but Dallas is 4-1 straight up the last 5 versus Washington. They're 5-0 ATS their last 5 versus Washington. Washington just 2-8 against the spread their last 10, 1-9 as we discussed straight up. Now, the over is cashed 5 straight for Dallas on the road, and the over is cashed 5 of the last 7 for Washington. And the over is cashed 4 of the last 5 meetings head-to-head. So if I'm looking at that, I think, you could look at a 10-point teaser getting that total over 41. I think a 10-point teaser, Christmas Day teaser, over 41 Washington, Minnesota plus 16. Denver is all the way up to 13 now. I had said Denver pick. Denver minus 13.5, but I also think you can go Kansas City plus 23.5. Could do some different things there. I also think looking now that Louisville-Toledo line is catching a lot of steam today, 7-point teaser, Louisville -2 with the Dallas Cowboys pick. I think that's a good way to go. If you're going to bet the game straight, though, if 10% of the money or less is going to be on Washington, I'd say hold out. Let this line keep growing, and you can find a good spot for Washington later on, maybe +8. I know you might say, oh, that's ugly, but you got to remember it's a division matchup, Christmas Day. Neither team really motivated. Weird stuff happens. So just keep that in your mind. I don't think any of these Christmas Day games you should be going out betting a ton of money. I think you got to be extremely careful here in this situation. Detroit lines at the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Detroit, man, I tell you what, had them in a bunch of teasers. They killed me Sunday. I would have ran the table except for one bet, that Cowboys bet, or two, the Jets. Would have had a phenomenal day. The Lions getting those touchdowns called back. Now they're laying 6 at Minnesota, and Detroit all but out of it. The Packers would have to lose to the Ravens Saturday and lose at Minnesota, and the Lions would have to win in Minnesota on Christmas Day and beat the Bears. I just don't see that happening. Lions getting 80% ticket count, 86% of the handle. Minnesota 20% ticket count, 14% of the handle. You're over under 44.5, 88% of bets, 93% of the handle to the over. 12% ticket count, 7% of the handle to the under. When I look at this, as far as from a standpoint, last 10 games as a home underdog, Minnesota 4-6, both straight up in ATS. Last 10 games as a road favorite. Lions 10 straight wins, straight up 9-1 ATS. Phenomenal stats there. Detroit 8-7, Minnesota 7-8. Minnesota just 2-4 at home. Detroit 3-4 on the road. Detroit has lost 3 of their last 4. As to where Minnesota 3-game winning streak, but full transparency, 3 bad teams, Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. But it gives them some hope with J.J. McCarthy and company moving on. These two teams earlier this year, back November 2nd in Detroit, Minnesota got the win 27-24. And generally, these teams play each other tough. If you take last January's contest out of it, these teams able to hang in there. I love a 7-point teaser. Minnesota +13 with Dallas pick. I think that's a really good bet. There's some 6.5 starting to pop up. I'll tell you this right now. If you can get 7 with Minnesota, you absolutely got to take it here. Detroit 1-5 ATS their last 6, 2-4 straight up their last 6. Now, they are 9-1 ATS their last 10 versus the Vikings, but the Vikings have played to the under 10 their last 15 at home, 6 of their last 7. Overall, Minnesota's played to the under. Like I said, if this gets to 7, I think you need to take it. I think a 7-point teaser, Dallas and Minnesota is a good way to go. Again, I love Minnesota in 10-point teasers. +16, +16.5. Even if you got to wait on your money and pair it with some stuff on Saturday, I think getting Minnesota over 10 points is an absolute amazing, amazing way to look at this. Now, I also think again, you do some alt player props. Anytime touchdown, obviously, is a good way to look at things as well. When you're looking at the player props, anytime touchdown, Jahmyr Gibbs -195. But I'd rather look at, for the Minnesota Vikings, Jordan Addison, 2.5 to 1. I think that's a good one. Tesla, 4 to 1 there. So a couple different things there you could look at. I also think TJ Hawkinson +370. First touchdown score of the game, Hawkinson 18 to 1. I think that's a good way to look at it. Also, Jared Goff, alt passing TDs, 2+ touchdowns, -$1.30. You just kind of wonder, though, against that Brian Flores defense, how that looks. Over under 1.5 touchdowns for Goff. I think I like the over -128 there. Again, Lions in desperation mode. If you can get Jahmyr Gibbs alt rushing and receiving, maybe something to look at there, but you're going to have to pay through the absolute nose for it. I think you might see some unders there as far as some of your player props are concerned. But again, Minnesota, any kind of teaser situation, I love Minnesota in. I think they get there. So again, Minnesota 7-point teaser with Dallas. Dallas pick Minnesota +13. But probably the best bet as far as the Christmas Day games are concerned, I want to go plus 16, 10-point teaser, Mazadar 30, plus 16 with the Minnesota Vikings. I want to go over 34.5 in the Vikings game. And I want to go over 40.5 in the Dallas Washington game. Then I want to take another one, Minnesota plus 16, the over in the Minnesota Detroit game, over 34.5. And then I want to go Kansas City. Just wait a couple hours. It's 23.5 right now. I believe you'll be able to get plus 24. I think Denver ultimately wins, but I think the Chiefs, again, they just try to bleed this clock with their defense. That's kind of the way I see that going. As far as the 3 Christmas Day games, the only game I could see playing straight, me personally, is, again, if I can get Minnesota plus 7, that would be my play. RJ Cash, Break the Board Sports, giving you stats, trends, information to help you with your handicap. This is all designed to help you become a better handicapper. Whether you fade or follow, hope you win your bets. God bless and happy handicapping.